morning, everybody. Today is a day we're going to talk medical history. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of COVID. Not much good about it, except that it did teach us that we can remain in our homes, and we can teach our children, and we can offer even food to people who are hurting and sick, because neighbors brought food to us when we had COVID. We took food to neighbors who had COVID, so it brought out some good in a lot of people.
It's taught us something that we'd never experienced.
Never.
And I hope to goodness that our children or their children don't experience something like this. But it changed. I think the first time I went in a grocery store last year, when you could go to the grocery store or the pharmacy.
As a normal person?
And I couldn't, no, not as a normal person,
wearing a
but you're
mask.
in the mask and social distancing. But the shelves in our big store in Blue Ridge, literally, no bread on aisles, no toilet. I'm not joking. To go down, it looked.
I think people panic bought.
Well, people,
I think
it looked like the day before the biggest snowstorm we've ever had.
Right.
But I notice even still today, you can go to the store and they won't have this or they won't have that, or they don't have something. And we've all learned to live with it. We've all had friends and family that have had it. But it makes you stop and think.
Makes you stop and think. Well, this is the team that tested me and gave me good news that I no longer have COVID, and I do have antibodies. And I love the fact that we got results in, 15 minutes?
Yeah, it takes about 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, and I tell everybody, if you think you've had it, but your test came up negative, and you've had all the symptoms, I would still get the antibody test.
Definitely.
I think I want to know, do you have the antibodies? And, you know, I didn't have any of the symptoms that Freddie had. He had what I would call the flu type. I had, and I would have bet money that I just had raging allergies, because my head, honestly, I don't know what an aneurysm feels like. And would you know if you're having an aneurysm?
Yes.
Would you have a raging headache?
It's like the most excruciating headache.
Yeah. That's what I had. And I thought, and if I coughed, I would have to hold my head, because I literally thought my head was going to explode.
Burst.
And how long did you have yours?
The headache? 7 weeks.
Oh, wow.
7 weeks. Last week was like the first week that I really have not had an everyday headache. And it got better every single day. But when I started to cough, when I would cough, I would still have to hold my head. But today, y'all brought me luck.
Knock on that wood.
I haven't had a headache today. So.
Well, when you tested, when I had my first test for it, y'all did it, and the quick test wasn't in, and it was like the next day, or I had to wait to find out if I had it.
That's nerve-wracking.
And then you go home, and I'm thinking, okay, I know they've tested Michelle in the hospitals and in surgery and everything like that, but I'm just, don't get near me, because I was convinced that as an older person, I was going to get this, and this is what I was going to leave this earth with.
And me as a younger person than her, I was convinced I wasn't going to get it.
Yeah, I'm the oldest old log sitting around here.
You didn't, darn it.
I'm the oldest old log, and so far I haven't had it, God willing, and the creeks don't rise.
Let me tell you where I think I got it. Do y'all know where you might have gotten it? Do you think you got it at work?
I do.
Yes, yes.
Definitely.
I'm not sure, but swabbing all those patients.
How many clients, how many patients have you been in total direct contact with? Even though y'all were masked up, I think you even had on the shield the day I was there.
Yes.
Yeah, so y'all are protected, but then you both ended up with COVID. How does that happen?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I got it. I mean, I wore a mask in the stores. I protected myself, and I protected myself when I was swabbing patients. But I probably came in contact with probably, I don't know, 500 at least.
Easily.
And you don't know what germ is on that one little grocery cart spot you touch.
Yes.
I go in the grocery store and I'm swabbing
like
that cart down like it's been in a typhoid ward.
And then you hear it's like you know, the particles like sit in the air, and then you hear, no, they can't do that, they're too heavy, and so I'm not sure.
Well, I was so funny because during this time I bought some things that were delivered to the house.
Yes.
And every day it was like, are you not going to get your packages off the porch? No.
No,
Don't
let
touch
them sit in the
Leave them
sun.
outside. Let them sit outside in the sun. And I did that, and I would leave stuff out there 4 to 6 days because I was relying
Yes.
on what was told us by television. Well, since I'm no longer watching much news at all because I don't trust any of the big to-do anchors, I just kind of took care of myself by wiping things down,
Right,
by
we
using
did
a
the
lot
same.
of bleach, by, you know, just trying to have some common sense. And it's kind of stuff your grandmothers taught us, that you
Right.
wipe down, you clean, you
Yeah,
know.
you wipe the cans down before, yeah.
We all
do
had
that.
gallons of hand sanitizer on every. I mean, it looked like a distribution point for hand sanitizer
Yeah,
down there. I
yeah,
walked
yeah.
in one day, and I mean, they were like this, and I like that little machine you've got now that just spritz it.
I like
you know,
that too.
I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's
Well,
cool.
your offices do have close quarters.
They
So
do.
how do you manage a lot of patients coming in? How are you doing that?
We were doing the 6 feet. They had to sit 6 feet apart in the back.
That day you wouldn't let me sit down till you said, "Wait a minute, I've got to." He's wiped there.
We wipe it down.
Here, the medical man is wiping stuff down, and you know, he's got the shots and everything, but he's wiping stuff down. And I've been concerned because Michelle's been going for a long, what about a 4-hour procedure that you're going to talk about in a little
Correct,
while.
yes.
Yeah.
But I'm worried about her being in that room, and she said, "Mom, you wouldn't believe how you can't go in until somebody else leaves and it's cleaned and
Yeah.
papers are changed and things are done." She said they're being very cautious.
Well, I was going to have, this is crazy, but with this headache I had, you know, everybody's like, you really need to get that checked. And I said, I didn't have this until I got COVID. I
Right.
didn't, so I really do think it's COVID related. And then I convinced myself, after it lasted 7 weeks, I better go get an MRI, which to me was kind of foolish because it came with COVID. COVID is gone now. The headache's gone.
Right.
So I changed my mind and decided I didn't want an MRI. When do you decide that a patient, maybe it's not COVID related? How do you know?
That's an excellent question because
Yeah.
we have to look at the symptoms. And honestly, there's really no specific timeline that, okay, I can check this box saying it's been 6 weeks, so no longer you have this, because it's all variable. And then you have to think about underlying medical conditions that a person may already have. For example, if someone has high blood pressure and a history of hypertension, we wonder how that's going to affect the blood pressure afterwards. Initially, I got exposed actually at work. I had seen hundreds of patients, and I mean, I used to joke about getting a buzz from all the alcohol in the dispensers because there was so much, you couldn't even smell your
We were
hands.
bathing ourselves with it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one of our coworkers came in. She had a pressure headache and little allergies, and I had my mask on and my garb. I was protected and everything, and I
Yeah.
looked into her eyes, looked into her nose and her ears, and everything
Right.
looked very nice. And then all of a sudden, we did a rapid test on her about a half hour later, and sure enough, she came back positive on a Wednesday. Thursday, I woke up and
So she had the same symptoms I had.
she had the same symptoms you
which are
had.
A lot
allergy
of-
symptoms.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
patients only have like just the head cold, just the pressure.
And it
headache.
varies with the presentation. And then
does.
my presentation was I had some pressure behind my ears where I had to hold the nose to pop the ears.
Wow.
And then the next day I woke up, I went to get a cup of coffee, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my coffee doesn't smell.
You're like, no.
And it's like, well, it's not the coffee.
That's the biggest. It seems to be the symptom.
Yeah.
I can't.
See, I never
smell.
lost my taste or
I
my
still
smell.
can't.
Really?
Yes,
wow.
I can't smell nothing.
Wow.
But I can taste sweets, so I've gained about 10 pounds.
Jonathan Barker said he was walking into a building or a store, and he didn't realize that the man in front of him was smoking. And all of a sudden, he walked through the smoke and realized that, uh-oh, I
couldn't
can't
smell
smell
it.
it. And he said,
Oh.
Isn't
And that's
that
dangerous,
weird?
too.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
like-
I mean,
If
he's a policeman or a sheriff. I can't remember
Yeah.
which. I
Right.
think he's a police
That's
officer.
crazy. That's crazy. So how long did your symptoms last?
I was very fortunate. Saturday, I woke up with no smell. I had a temperature of like low 99s for an hour on Sunday. I knew I had it. I called work. I came in. I got tested right away, and I was like, all right, I know I'm going home.
I got a
And it's like-
vacation. Yeah.
Eric's saying, get out of here, go home.
Oh yeah, Yes.
yeah,
You know, it was interesting. I tell you, I mean, I was very blessed. I had tired. I had some aches and everything. But you know what really got to me was the quarantining and staying at home. I called it Groundhog Day.
Yes. Yeah,
It's like you can't go out. You
Oh my
can't
God,
go to
it
the store.
is
You
the
don't want to
same thing.
expose anybody.
No,
God forbid.
no.
You know, someone catch it from you. And I did have a gentleman who was renting part of my house from me.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm going to quarantine too, because we had been in close quarters. You know, he's in one part, I'm in another part, and we just have a common area.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he never got it. But you know what?
Isn't that wild?
That's crazy.
And
Yeah.
2 other coworkers got it, and they tested, all of us tested
So hard
positive.
to understand who gets it and who doesn't.
It is weird.
It's,
And
It
we're
is
going
weird.
into the summertime. Do you believe that it slacks off a little bit in the warmer weather? Did it do that last year?
I don't think so. I
You
mean,
think
they-
it just kept
no.
going, and maybe we were so tired of it, we didn't listen?
I think to this point, there really are no scientific studies that can
No,
verify that
I
or
don't
prove
think
it. It's
anybody
just,
knows.
it's variable. You know, what helped me, I have a sauna at home, and I would go in that every day, and I'm also fortunate I have a tanning bed. And I would lay in the tanning bed every day, because they said basically
Oh,
sun
excuse
exposed.
I called
I'm
him.
sorry,
He
I'm
was
sorry.
Like, he was like, I'm laying in my tanning bed. And
But I mean, I think that's why I had such moderate symptoms,
Isn't
mild
that something?
symptoms.
Yeah,
You know, get a
yeah.
sweat on for 30 minutes in the sauna, you know.
So
And
you're going to come up with a
It
melanoma.
relieves
this is a safe tanning bed with the
Yeah.
good bulbs.
Okay, so your symptoms lasted longer?
mine was longer. The test we do, the PCR test, it shows the viral load. You never done the PCR test, did you?
I think I did, yeah.
Did it come back your viral load?
That was what we did. Is I've had the initial test with the PCR where I
yes.
had nothing.
I don't remember
speak
your
in English
viral
so that
load.
we know what
Okay,
you're
so-
talking
There,
about.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
There's a special test, which is the rapid test, which we find out. That's if you have it right there at that moment. It's not predicting what you've had in the past or what you could get. It just shows that. The PCR test is basically a swab. It takes 2 or 3 days to come back.
Right.
And it will tell you if you have antibodies, are you currently having it, or if you have the antibodies that show you've already had it and have already built up the antibodies for somewhat of a resistance to it. And the frustrating part when I had that first test is like, I'm not going to know for 48 hours if I have it or not.
That's what happened to
Right.
me, and that's
Yes.
what
Yeah.
I worried.
And
I
the-
think I'd called several times. Do you have the results yet?
Yes, that's
No.
the PCR test.
Yes.
Yes, and that one takes several days to
And
come
that's
back.
the one that goes up to your brain.
No, that's the rapid antigen.
That's the
the
rap-
rapid
that's
test.
one of 'em.
Yeah. So the PCR test, it shows your viral load. And I know my girls, Hope, my youngest, she had it when she was, oh gosh, back end of June. None of us got it. We went on vacation. Her sisters were sleeping in the same bed as her. They drank after her.
Nobody got it.
Nobody got it.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes, and then we got it all in October. Morgan and Elliot and I got it in October. But our viral load, mine was 48 million, and most, like everybody else's, was 1.2 million, 1.1 million.
So you were like on maximum overdrive.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
my
But I was
gosh.
anemic at the time, so
Do
I
you-
didn't have the blood volume to fight it off.
Do you feel like should we be opening up? Should we not be opening up? On the news last night, they talked about a bar in somewhere that had a party in February, a reopening party, and 40-some people were at this party. And as a result of one person being there being sick, they've now tracked 76 cases of COVID to this one bar party. So are we open? Are we becoming too complacent with it?
I have mixed feelings on that.
Me too.
Okay, I say common sense, open America up. Get us back to work, get us eating out, common sense.
I've eaten
Clean your
out.
restaurants, clean your tables,
You're eating out.
clean your buggies at the stores. Just use common sense.
Right, and if they
Don't
have
go in
under
a bar and hug strangers. You know, I
Exactly.
mean, that's kind of stupid anyway. 'Cause, in today's
Yeah.
world, cooties. You know, forget COVID, the cooties. But don't you think it's time?
Yes, I just think, as long as they use common sense, if you have any, underlying medical conditions, I would say, just use common sense and, don't go out
If you
to
had the
those
measles, you
places.
wouldn't go out
Exactly.
Yes.
or something. So just,
Yeah.
I think, be careful.
Okay, when you got over yours, they kept you in quarantine how many days? 14 days?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the toughest part to me because after 5 days, I was like, okay, I want to go back to work. and they would not allow it until I came down and tested with y'all.
Yes,
and then they wouldn't let me go back for 5 days. And I was
Really?
like, holy cow, here's my
Yeah.
negative test, here's my negative test, here's my antibodies. And they wouldn't let me go back for 5 days because they called the health department. The health department said so-and-so and so-and-so. And I said, okay. So I I made a joke about it. And have y'all ever seen the movie of Matthew McConaughey, Lincoln Lawyer?
Yes.
I love that movie. I love that
that was
movie.
a-
I love that movie. I became the Lincoln Realtor because I said I'm not missing work because y'all won't let me come in the office. So I just did my rounds in my car.
She was so excited too.
You were thrilled when we gave
Oh
you those
my gosh,
results.
y'all! It was like, number one, I got over it quickly, so I was so very, very thankful.
You were very lucky.
I was very fortunate because I have friends who have died from this stuff. This
Yes.
stuff is real. It is real. And when I got it, I'll just say, I think I eat healthier than most people. I love vegetables. I love salads. I try to have fruits. I try to
Right.
eat a decent, good stuff. And then you see people who, an example, I know somebody who eats lots of Reese's peanut butter cups, lots of junk, lots of tater chips, and they got COVID, and they were a little bit sicker than I was. So do you think that your body being stronger has anything to do with COVID at all?
I think that actually
Definitely.
it does, because
Yes.
if you have a stronger immune system, we were seeing patients and looking at it who were immunocompromised, who had a problem with their immune system, potential either HIV, something that brought it down. If they had a rheumatology condition, that we worry about, and it seems like those symptoms were a little more.
They talk about heart problems a lot. People with cardiac issues, which is what scared me, because that's my biggest challenge right now is my cardiac issue. But it just seems like this morning I listened to the news because I knew we were going to be talking to you, and I just wanted to hear numbers or hear what they were saying. And they were talking about the variants, but they were really pushing, talking about, some states now are talking about whether or not they're going to let children back to school if the children haven't been vaccinated. And we
And
know
are y'all
how-
doing any children testing or
Have you
parents
seen
bringing
anyone
children in?
asking about
I
that?
have. I've done children, and I've seen quite a few that was positive, and I know
Because we were
quite
told
a
at first that children
few.
don't get this.
They get it. They do not have like the symptoms and stuff like we would have.
It seemed like it affected more the adult population, and it seemed like in the beginning, like the more physically mature, I don't say OLD, that's not the word, more
Right.
physically mature that you were, it seemed like
Thank
they were
you.
more susceptible. Oh, you're welcome.
Right. I did a nursing CEU on COVID actually, past couple of weeks, and they talk about the thymus gland, and the thymus gland's located in like your chest, and you're born with it. But as you get older, that thymus gland turns into fat, and that thymus gland, it provides like all the T cells that you're going to have for the rest of your life, and those T cells are like memory cells. And so what happens is like when you're a child, that thymus gland is still producing, so they say that that's why the kids do not get it as bad as the adults, because like as we get older, those T cells are memory cells. They're going to say, hey, this has already been in my body, I've already had it, let's fight this sucker off.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but as children, they're still producing. So, like when that comes in, it's a foreign invader, but your body automatically, it sees it, and it's like, okay. And I think that's why.
Well, and strangely and sadly, there have been a 1-year-old who died from COVID.
Yeah, that's
There have been
awful.
some deaths, and I understand y'all know somebody who passed away from COVID.
We do. I know several.
We've had quite a few patients, not a whole lot, but the ones that have touched us are patients, we care about our patients. Our office is
Right.
like a family environment.
It is.
when you come
We
in
know
there.
everyone.
Oh, truly.
Yeah.
Little did I know.
And this.
We were the four of us were sitting here 5 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
I sent you a picture last night.
Yes, ma'am.
I sent you a picture. Did you get that?
crazy?
5 years ago, we
Yeah.
were sitting
Yeah.
slightly different, but
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
sitting
Yes.
here, and time does fly.
Yeah.
It does.
Really does fly.
But I have to say, you two don't age. You're like
They
a
don't.
beautiful
Oh, no.
evergreen tree crossed with an African violet.
Okay,
Just
wait a minute. Let me
beautiful.
prop my
Evergreen
feet up
tree.
on the table.
Yeah.
I told you on the phone
Yeah.
this morning it's getting deeper in the car.
Yeah, I got so tickled because as I got gray, it just totally blew my mind, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting old. And I would never show this ever, but we had a video of somebody who took a video of me the other day when I was rolling my hair, no makeup on, in my nightgown. And I looked
that's
at it
worth
and I said, I'm
something.
becoming my grandmother. Oh my God. But thank you, because yeah, we have aged.
But I've
Together
earned,
we've aged a lot.
I've earned
Gracefully.
Yes,
earned
gracefully.
every gray hair I had, and I'm sure I had a good time doing it,
Yeah.
or I had fun with my children doing it. But
Yeah.
we have earned our gray hair,
Yeah,
haven't we?
we have. Well, we got to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about, you're doing something with Michelle's knee,
Yes, ma'am.
leg. Okay, we're going to talk about that. And I hope that you will become encouraged to get out, y'all. If you have had the symptoms, but you tested negative, I would still go see these guys, and I would have the antibody test, because I would want to know. It was important to me to know that I do have the antibodies. Number one, you could help somebody else with the antibodies, and we're going
Right.
to talk about that a little bit. Because if you've had it, maybe you could help somebody else, and if you recovered from it quickly, the one thing I have in common, I think Diane Thomason and I both had these raging headaches, and our symptoms seemed so much alike, and then you have other people who have totally different symptoms, so it's really weird. I think we should do maybe a video of interviewing people who have had COVID, and what were your symptoms, and how long did it take, and whatever. And when you look at 20 cases, no 20 cases are alike.
Right, they're not.
It's very, very strange.
And
This is a booger.
Yes, we've had
Yeah.
patients like come in and say, you know, the urgent care told me that, you know, I don't have the symptoms for COVID, and then they test positive right there at the office. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And you're like, you may not have the
Yeah.
symptoms, honey, but you got it. So,
Yes.
And I would have bet $1 million that I did not have COVID. I thought I had allergies, and then I was like, oh crap, I have COVID. So, Okay, guys, we're going to take a commercial break, and please, please, please say a prayer for our dear friend Gary Banks. He is in Big Piedmont, Atlanta, fighting COVID as we speak. He was transferred there last night from Piedmont, Jasper. He is on a ventilator, which scares the bejesus out of me. So please, please, please pray for Gary. He's a good guy, single dad who has raised his son. And please, please, please pray for he and Miles. All right, we'll be back in just a minute.
Georgia Medical Treatment Center now has 2 locations to bring you the high-quality holistic care you've come to know and expect. We treat neck, back, and joint pain with chiropractic care and injection-based treatment without the need for surgery or prescription painkillers. Our medical weight loss program can also provide relief while ridding your body of toxins, pounds, and inches while improving your overall health. Call today for a free consultation, 770-345-2000, or go online to georgiamtc.com.
Whether you're swimming in the sea, or splashing in the pool, making a masterpiece, or just making memories, writing a great American novel, or writing your term paper that's due tomorrow. Whatever you do in life, Farmers is here to protect it. For all your insurance needs, call Donald Curtis in Blue Ridge.
Whether it's memories of your first trip to the local Dairy Queen or your daily visit for a $5 lunch special, the Jasper Dairy Queen has been a part of the community for over 40 years. Locally owned and operated, Jasper DQ is the place where specialty items often become favorites. Burgers, shakes, chicken tenders with yummy dip and gravy, and don't forget the rings and fries. Celebration cakes are always fresh and fast and include the awesome Blizzard cake. Stop by where folks are always meeting and eating, 515 at Highway 53. Just follow the crowd to the Dairy Queen.
High-speed Wi-Fi. Not quite as important as running water in your home, but close. Ignite Internet from ETC powers your Wi-Fi network with consistent speeds to keep all your gadgets going strong. Streaming video players, laptops, tablets, even smartphones, so you're never stuck with those big cell data charges. And talk about value. Just pick your speed and keep the Wi-Fi flowing in your home at a great low price. Upgrade your internet today. Call or visit etcnow.com to learn more.
the whole spit shine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're back. Okay, listen, things are changing in the medical industry. There's always a new med out. There's always, what was the movie I watched the other day? Dallas Buyers Club. Oh, man. Oh, gut-wrenching.
Yes.
I'm glad I watched it. I wish I hadn't seen it because it taught me so much about we don't do things quickly enough. We don't get things through the FDA fast enough. We don't do what we need to often to save lives. But in medicine, are you seeing now with COVID that they are finally saying, we're going to get this crap done. We are not going to sit around and wait until thousands of people die. Has it helped moving things through the FDA?
That's an excellent question. I think certain things, we still need to have careful studies to prove the support, because all of a sudden we don't want to come up with something too rapidly and then 6 months later we find out that's causing more harm than good.
Right.
So I think in some clinical trials the safety precautions are a must. I think with the COVID virus we needed to kind of get something more as a rapid response. They had the patients, they were testing on the population, they were seeing the results. Whenever you deal with a virus, it has that outside coating of protein that changes, and when you think about how it's going to attack the virus on the inside, you want to make sure it is the right one, and it's not going to be detrimental to attack something else in your body that is good for you.
Right.
Okay, the three of you have all had your shots. Did you each have the same brand?
I
I
did
had
not
the
have
two
the
shots.
shot.
Oh, you have not? Okay.
I still have antibodies, so
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
waiting.
I had the Moderna.
What'd
I
you
had the
have?
Moderna as well.
How do you feel about the Johnson? Because it came on later and it's one shot. Do you?
I've heard good things about it.
I'd go take it today if I could get it, because I've had the Moderna. My pharmacy, the Gun and Drug, said, well, let's wait to see how many people who have not had a shot at all will come get this one.
Why would you double shot?
Well, my theory is that
It's 'cause she likes Starbucks.
What the Johnson is. Well, no, I was trying to be serious.
Yeah, no.
My theory was, and in reading something and a couple of things that were on news, the particles that Johnson & Johnson shot might fight in my body are different than what the Moderna shot is fighting. It's
Right.
like when I was with the hospital auxiliary, I took the regular flu shot at the hospital because I had to have it or wear a mask to be in the hospital. And then I took the senior flu shot because of my coronary condition. And my doctor said, 2 of them won't hurt you. And my family physician, which watches over everything like an umbrella, says, Jen, go get the shot. It's important. He said, with your cardiac and everything you've had, go get it. He said, before this thing ends, we're all going to have some version of it. He said, I'm convinced of that. He said, I think that we're
But
all
you
going to have some little
Michelle
something.
hasn't. Both of y'all
Well, I
have
haven't, but
dodged the
we've been
bullet.
so careful. Our house looks like a hospital with the jugs of sanitary wipes and hand sanitizers, but she was going through cancer, surgery
Right.
for that, radiation. So my thought was that if anything she might have had, that radiation might have just zapped.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a help, but we still wear masks. We have places in, McKaysville is wide open. The train's running, people are coming to town, but you still see people in masks, you see people social distancing, and then you see people that aren't paying any attention to, they have no mask, they're not social distancing, they're hugging people they don't know on the state line.
Yeah, I don't do
So,
that.
but no, I feel like that the Johnson, it's like taking the pneumonia shot. Have you had the pneumonia shot?
no.
See, I've had the pneumonia shot and the senior flu shot. Well, those are two different things. So I just feel like the Johnson & Johnson was a different formula and would fight something that maybe the Moderna wouldn't, and vice versa. I'm all for being protected.
She's
Right.
protected.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
with everything that she's going through, I'm down there in that place, and I got to protect myself from being down there if I want to be able to walk. And I don't want to give it to you. You and I have been very cautious.
Yep.
And I have friends who've been in the hospital 8 and 9, 10 weeks. You look at Johnny Searcy from Blue Ridge. You look at Lamar O'Neill from Copper Hill. And we're talking about people 4, 5, 6 months in the hospital. And several times these people were in comas and we didn't think they were going to make it.
One of the things that we're finding are blood clots that happen.
Right.
And I know somebody who's been in the hospital recently with blood clots in their lungs. Why do you think that's happening?
That has to deal more with the way the body responds to it, and also too if you're immunocompromised or if they've got like people who have COPD. I have not really heard of a lot of people who are like, for example, I had a friend of mine, 29 years old, used to play semi-professional football, great shape and everything. Well, he ended up getting COVID. He was going to a gym, working out, even though he had his mask on. This was last March. And he was on a ventilator for 5 days. Fortunately, he never had any blood clots, but it just depends upon which body part or which system the virus attacks. People who are more predisposed, who have problems with circulation, blood clotting. For some people, this is a plug for taking aspirin. If your platelet count is too
I'm
high,
doing an aspirin a day, the baby aspirin every day.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every day.
Yes,
Yes,
that's good.
every day.
it makes a difference to thin down the blood clots. Also, being healthy, thinking about your cholesterol and triglycerides. When the fats and lipids are all elevated, that is a perfect opportunity for a potential blood clot to occur on any level inside, whether it be the arteries or the veins. So being healthy kind of helps think about how this is going to be less effective when it comes to developing those. But you know, I mean, people who are, again, predisposition. If you have the health risk factors, it's important you treat the health risk factors as we're going along with this. And not, let's say, oh, I've got COVID. Well, let's talk about the diabetes you could have.
I know a lot of people with diabetics have had real serious issues with COVID. Serious.
Well, I'm diabetic. I've been very blessed at it, but I keep my A1C under 6, and I like to stay healthy, work out, you know, to do things that I have to be mindful. I watch what I eat. Sometimes I don't, especially on Mondays. I know we have the office
Well,
catered.
we're all
but
human. We're all
exactly.
human. We're all
Yeah.
human.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, now tell me what's going on with, I know you've been doing some, is it research-based things you're doing with the knees? Is it something new? Is it?
Actually, we kind of more of an updated way of taking care of the knees at this time. When we were here in the past, we talked about the knee model and how we were doing a little cortisone injection to calm inflammation down ahead of time. And then the main thing is what's called hyaluronic acid. These are the rooster comb you used to hear about and the gel injections. I used to call it a glorified WD Medical 40 for the body. It helps lubricate the joints to get better motion inside there. We do this under what's called video fluoroscopy. I'm not sure if we were doing it back then.
I don't think so.
But what we do is we actually have a needle-guided system that we work with a little C-arm. So what we try to do is we want to be close to 100% accurate. In the past, knee injections were given blindly. Here's a knee joint, let's go ahead and put the needle in. You know, some people would be like, ow, you hit a bone.
I hate needles.
Oh,
gosh,
Lord.
I hate needles.
But with this, we're able to see how to go into the joint space to make sure the needle's not hitting anything. And the important is that the delivery is accurate. We want to make sure that medicine gets inside
Where
there.
it needs to be.
So the first thing we do is what's called, the big word is an arthrogram. It's we take a picture of the knee and we watch the needle go in there. Every joint has a capsule which holds all the fluid that lubricates inside there. We put a little dye to make sure that stays right inside there. You don't want to put a joint injection with the tear in the capsule that everything we put in there is just going to go down the back of the leg. We want to make sure, and when we put that dye in there, that tells us the capsule's intact, we can do this, and you're going to have good results.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it's once a week for 5 weeks for some of them. There's Hyalgan, there's Suparts, there's Synvist. Basically, there's so many different things that have come out now. Some of them have, well, a little higher molecular weight density. Is basically some of them are a little bit thicker. Some have a slightly different concentration. And I've seen great results with all of them.
And how long does it last?
Normally it lasts about 6 months. Normally the word half-life is how long it takes something to kind of break down in the system. So with that, we see every 6 months is what we recommend to do this. Now, I've got one special lady who just blew my mind. She was 73 years old, good, staunch German woman who knew what she wanted to do. She was doing mudders, Zumba dancing. If you don't know what mudders are, it's a race in the mud with an obstacle course.
Oh my God.
And she was on a treadmill every day.
Oh my God.
And I mean, she came back in 18 months
awesome.
later. She's like, I'm doing great. I said, you know what? I am not going to touch you with a 10-foot pole. No.
No, we need to get some of her blood.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah.
But you know, so many of the patients, I mean, it's amazing. 1 shot, 2 shots, they start seeing it because with arthritic changes, we have some narrowing of the joint space. We lose some of the cartilage deposition as we physically mature with time, and we don't want to see that become a dried out joint. By putting that in there, we put what's called 2 cc's or milliliters of fluid each time. The knee joint itself has roughly about 4 to 5 cc's of fluid in there. So what we want to do is slowly increase the lubrication. The treatment series includes a total of 5 injections, which is 10 milliliters of fluid. Now, think about the knee capsule like a water balloon. You take a water balloon, you put fluid in there, and eventually it's going to burst. But we do this slowly so the body can adapt to having the fluid put inside there and get the relief. Now,
Does it hurt when you're doing this process?
No.
I'm sorry, could the lady from the audience please speak up?
Okay.
No.
Because it's a gentle and a slow little, I don't want to use the word trickle, but does it kind of, do you just kind of all at one time?
No, it's
slow.
I just, it's a shot. I mean, boom, it's done.
Now, part of it is all in the technique of the needle giver.
Yes.
I've
But
actually,
you're looking at where it's going because you've got it right there
Exactly.
on this. That's what's fascinating to me, because I'll sit in the room with her when she's doing it, and I'm watching that needle, and then he'll unscrew the cap, and the needle's in her leg, and he puts another one on there, and she's just oblivious. I mean,
Time frame to do this?
time frame to do this, honestly, whenever your knees start hurting. You know, you never can get in too early for preventative medicine. You know, if you wait to the point that you're like, your body will tell you when you have to have surgery to have the joint replaced. We're trying to target the population who are still healthy, still vibrant, who want to come in. You know, as we, again, physically mature, we want to maintain that quality of life. That's what these injections give to you. If you have one knee done, we recommend both knees. Why? Because if you have a bad knee and a good knee, eventually we start wearing out the
One
good
takes,
knee.
yeah.
It takes over.
Takes the heat, yep.
okay. Y'all
That
are
is
doing,
wild.
that's fascinating, but you're doing something new that I want you to talk about, and
Yes.
it's for diabetics, and that's what Michelle's doing right now. It's what's it called, and what does it do, and what's the purpose of it?
I can answer that in 1 second. Is also what we're doing with the knees is we are offering stem cell therapy after the completion. Sorry, I didn't change that.
I didn't know
Oh.
you were doing the stem cell.
But the stem cell, it's a great way because the stem cells go in there. They're cells that basically haven't matured. If you think about when you have an embryo, sperm, egg, embryo, just all these cells start maturing and growing. Eventually, some become heart, muscle, brain, kidney, skin. Well, stem cells haven't grown up yet into the type of cell they're going to be. So what we do is we inject stem cells. It's usually from an amniotic fluid that has the stem cells in there. There's several million in a concentration. And what happens, damaged tissue like the cartilage, for example, is sending off chemical signals. Whenever we have an injury, the body wants to heal itself up. So it tries to bring the nutrients that it needs. Now we're jump-starting that process because we're putting the stem cells in there. Your body's reacting it as an inflammatory response, bringing the nutrient you need to stimulate the stem cells to help grow into the cartilage. We are seeing phenomenal results.
Wow.
And it's something that's helping preserve the knee joint. Patient diminishes
And
the pain.
nobody wants knee replacement. I know you've had them,
No,
but that's
no,
not
you
something
trade
look
one
forward
hurt for
to.
another.
Yeah,
You trade one
yeah.
hurt for another.
Yeah.
It's
Woo.
Yes.
I've got a platelet-rich PRP.
Certainly.
Yes.
That's another thing we have is called the platelet-rich plasma. That's another way of taking your body's own blood. We spin it down to get rid of all the fats, the triglycerides, the heavy cholesterol, things that would be inhibiting the healing process. It's a concentrate in the platelets like fibrinogen, thrombin, all this stuff that allows to promote a healing process. That will also help increase the healing response time. It's also great for cells in the muscles, tendons, ligaments, small joints. At one point in time, we started doing also for
Facelifts.
hair.
Wow.
I mean,
wow.
you can do the
Do
called the
facelift.
vampire
Facelift.
facial. I mean, it's just amazing
Wow.
what this does to heal itself up.
Wow.
So it's interesting.
And it's not experimental. Everything is FDA approved.
At this point in time, yes, it is.
But
It's
you
not
don't
like
do anything experimental.
no.
No. No.
Everything you do's been approved and.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Approved by the SBA. Most insurances do some part of paying for that. I know Medicare and Medicaid. I'm not the insurance expert, but you know, it does make a difference. And bottom line is we want to give a better quality of life to our patients. You know what? What's the #1 reason you come to a doctor's office?
You
Pain.
get to feel better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If
You
you're
want to leave
not-
there feeling better.
Exactly.
Yep.
So if we do something to help you ease your pain, give you a better quality of life, and say, hey, I was able to go do my roof today. Well, we're not trying to get people up on ladders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But
Now, what if somebody has had I know you've had both knees replaced?
I had them both done at the same time.
Okay, is that a candidate for knee? No, once that's been done, then you've taken yourself out of that market.
because
I
basically you
get
have,
a different kind of shot.
yes, you do. You get the love shot and support
Yeah.
that we have.
Yeah.
I get the placebo for the old woman. I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah.
But no, it is a different kind of shot
Yes, it
than
is.
what Michelle gets, for instance.
When you have metal and plastic in there, there's really no place that you could put a
It's not
lubricant.
going to. It's not
Right.
going to change.
No.
So this is for people who haven't had knee surgery but have some issues with their knees.
Correct.
There you go. There you go.
And a lot of times we have our weekend warriors. Age-related, undetermined, because we have weekend warriors at all different age groups,
Right.
and they have a tweak or something doesn't feel right. You know, it's better to have something like that evaluated, because I know as I physically mature, I'm not the same person I used to be. And if something starts hurting, I can just walk this off for a couple
Right.
days. It's not that way anymore.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you about something, because
Yes,
I
ma'am.
went through an experimental program years and years ago of having injections in my back. Do y'all do anything for the back at all?
Yes, we do. Dr. Derek Scott is our physician who does those procedures. What we normally do
I
is
think it was an epidural. It's kind of what I
correct.
had. Yeah.
We do epidurals, RFAs. We do ways to kind of help blunt the nerves, take care of the pain, help with sciatic pain. Areas where the vertebrae come out, there's little areas called facets. We do blocks that area. What it does, it helps diminish the pain and inflammation around the nerve root that's coming out of that area.
That's
'Cause
what
you
we
need to
It does
target.
make it. I've had the epidural.
Yeah.
And it literally was like turning off the pain.
Oh,
I
oh.
was.
Yeah.
I told you. I said I'm stunned. I didn't think it would work like that.
Yeah, it definitely works, and that's something I didn't know if they had made it better, because mine was, I hate to say this, 40 years ago. I was in an experimental program,
Okay.
and I signed away my life to do this experimental program because I'd been in a bad car wreck and nothing was helping with the pain, and so the doctor
Right.
said, we have something. It was a neurologist. He said, we have something new that's, and now it's 40 years old, so I
Yeah.
just told my age.
patients
Oh, my
walk out.
Lord.
So you were 16 when you had the car
I was a
accident.
child. I was a child. Yeah. Have you seen improvements in the epidurals? Are they making it? Mine seemed to last about 6 months.
It really depends upon the body's metabolism is how it breaks down the medication. Obviously, cortisone is what the main thing that goes inside there. We use numbing medication to give some local anesthesia because we don't like our patients suffering. This is not just stick a needle in cortisone. It's not like that.
Yeah.
We help alleviate the pain first because whenever you put a needle in, you want to do something
Yeah.
to help
Yeah.
take care of that.
I remember that moment.
What I do is I use cold spray to numb the surface of the skin, and I was taught I love my nurses. First off, my nurses are some of the best women and men I've ever been around in my life.
Yeah.
And the one tool that I was taught is when you go to give an injection, you pinch the injection site because it activates the pain receptors, so you don't feel a needle stabbing. You pinch, and sometimes you feel the pinch and you don't feel the needle. And that's
Right.
one of my secrets, why my patients, I've been called Dr. Painless at the
Yeah,
office,
yeah, yeah.
Gentle James, and
Yeah.
you know
Among
what?
other
James.
things.
I love it. I love it. I
It
love
makes
it.
a difference.
But it does make a difference. It really does. In fact, I've got where I'll say, don't even bother with that spray.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah.
It just because
Well, I'm the biggest baby when it comes to needles, y'all. I'm a hoot. And if you get me near a dentist office, it is like, I don't drink, but you could give me a fifth of Jack Daniels to get me in the dentist office. I'm terrified of needles in the mouth. I mean, I am just the
Yes.
biggest baby that ever lived. And I remember when I had to have the back injections, and I don't even know if they're still around, but they put you in a fetal position. And I can remember it hurt then. So my doctor was not Gentle James. I should have come to y'all. You weren't even born then.
no, you were. He's just a baby. He's just a baby. No, they.
But people want to get away from their pain. They want to live a good life without hurting.
You didn't. I wasn't in a fetal position. I was just stretched on my stomach, and
Bam.
they did it. I mean, I don't. Maybe I've been through a lot I don't think about that, but let's just do it.
Well,
Do it.
when you give epidurals, you have the epidurals that you're going to give for pregnant women who are about to deliver. They're the ones you have hunch over. You give epidurals before surgery for a hip or for a knee sometimes. Again, you bend over. We're doing anesthesia only that's going in there to help blunt the pain so you have as much pain control and pain relief as possible. These epidurals are a little bit different. When you lay on your stomach, we use the x-ray machine to localize that specific area where we're seeing the impingement of the vertebrae, and we want to deliver that specifically to that nerve root coming out in between the vertebrae.
So you x-ray first and diagnose exactly where the problem is.
A lot of times we get MRIs for soft tissue. MRIs look at the soft tissue structures, and that kind of gives us an idea which vertebrae. X-rays will not really tell you where the nerve root's coming out that the problem is. We look at the bone and mechanical structure, but it doesn't show the soft tissue structure. So with the MRI, it shows, okay, now we need to target between lumbar 4 and 5 and 5 and S1. So then when we do the X-ray, we're able to have the needle-guided system to go into that specific area to target that nerve that we know where the pain's coming from.
And I can tell you from having those, give me an epidural any day over back surgery. Just give me an
Oh, yes,
epidural. And if I can live with
Yeah.
that, and it did make my life livable. Yeah. It was amazing to me. And it was experimental back then. So it was one of those things, yeah, if it'll help somebody
So
else,
thank
let's
you
do
for,
it.
for doing
Let's
that.
do it.
Exactly,
Let's do it. Yeah. Okay, what else
you.
is new? You had said you were going
yes.
to talk about something else.
This is kind of one of the things that we have that's kind of exciting at the office.
I've heard
we
this
offer.
I heard on the Today Show the other day. They were talking. Their doctor was talking about this very thing.
Really?
Yes, and I said that's what you're. So what is it?
This is one of the things that's kind of like the up-and-coming way of treating diabetic patients with peripheral neuropathy. The numbness, the tingling, the burning sensation, the numbness in the feet. It's just, it's almost like, it's almost too good to be true. When you advertise it and we talk about it, and I tell my patients, I'm met with a lot of like, that's not possible. I haven't felt my feet in 6 years, some of them say.
Wow.
And I've had this burning, they say. So what it is, I was trained about 2 years ago out of a place in Houston. And it was a diabetes relief clinic. And what they do, it's a slow infusion of insulin over the course of 3 hours while you're there at the office. And what it is, the pump that we have actually mimics how a normal pancreas would be functioning to produce insulin. Now, this is a 3-hour process. It's important that first off, we have to screen the patients to make sure that we can help you. This is not something we can do for everyone. Patients who have the problems with the numbness, the burning, the tingling. Some patients who are type 2 diabetics who have energy loss, have visual field changes, not because of cataracts, but because they don't have the visual acuity they did before. Some people have renal insufficiency or problem with the
Right.
kidneys. And basically what it does, it helps make the cells start reacting as if they were functioning normally.
Wow.
With the type 2 diabetes, you have the patients who have insulin resistance, which we have the cells. However, a lot of the receptors on the cells that where the insulin would bind to carry sugar into the cells to work aren't there. So if we don't have those, you're seeing elevation in blood sugars with the type 2 diabetes, and we're seeing how that's not being effectively taking care of the cells. So with the pancreas mimicking like a normal function, and it's, when you come in there, it's a full 3-hour infusion, and the pump goes every 4 up to 8 minutes, depending upon what your hemoglobin A1C is. Hemoglobin A1C is a measurement of how your blood sugars have been running for pretty much the last 3 months in the body. And we go from that. That determines the concentration. We like to target our patients between blood sugars about 120, 140, up to 160. Anything that's blood sugars are over 180, you're going to see spillage into the urine causing potential kidney damage. That's why. So we like to run the blood sugars at a lower level. We check the blood sugars every 30 minutes because we don't want you to crash down.
Right.
We want to keep you maintained. My very first patient, I cannot forget, I won't say his name for HIPAA reasons, but after the first hour, he goes to stand up and he looks at me with this perplexed face on. I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, I can feel my feet.
Yeah.
He's like, James, it's been 6 years. And he's getting up and he's standing and he's making these motions. I'm like, I think he's gonna fall over. And he's just like, hasn't felt his feet for so many years.
Wow. Wow.
His eyes, he was watching the TV. He's like, James, I can see the remote control now.
Yes. He wanted to take laps around the inside of the office. He was
almost
so
sounds
excited.
And how
miraculous
often
in
do
its
they
own
do
little
this?
way.
Well, the way the treatment program is set up, it's normally twice a week for 3 weeks. like a Monday, Wednesday, or Monday, Thursday, or a Wednesday and Friday. And when they do that, after the 3 weeks, it kind of up-regulates the system. It does help a little better with the blood sugars, and also you see a little decrease in the A1C. But once we have it regulated after the 6 treatments, we see patients either weekly, bi-weekly. I've got a lady who comes in every 6 weeks. Her numbness and tingling's gone away.
Wow.
She has more energy. She's not wearing her glasses as much. She used to use readers. I mean, it's just amazing. And this lady's in her mid-60s, and it's like she has a new lease on life.
That's awesome.
I have a patient in the audience who has been to the office and has had experiences with this. And I tell you, when I see her results, you know, to me,
It's made a big difference for her
yeah.
on the neuropathy.
And you know, is there ever, you said you're a diabetic.
yes, ma'am.
Do you have to do insulin?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
11 years running now.
Is there any way in the world to just cut out being a diabetic? Is there anything in medical history, anything new in the medical field that we will not have to deal with diabetes?
That is an excellent question that we're
Somebody
striving.
ought to be fixing that.
Well, I do know of a couple patients who have actually gone ahead. He went to Thailand to get a pancreatic
Pancreas?
transfer.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
And stem cells. Now, this is experimental. We do not offer this in the United States at this point in time. But again, his procedure was replacement and stem cells. Stem cells grow into the cells that produce the insulin.
And you've been a diabetic 11 years?
Yes, ma'am.
See, I have a stepson who became a diabetic at 16. He hated it. He was angry about it. He didn't handle himself well, and he died young. He lost his vision. He lost everything because he didn't handle it well. Mentally, it's really tough on your mind because if you're a 16-year-old normal kid and all your friends are doing all these normal
Right.
things and you can't because of your diabetes, how did you develop it?
For some reason, I developed pancreatitis years ago, and I'm not 100%
Because you're
sure.
a picture of health. I mean, you look like
Thank
he
you.
wasn't. He
Yeah,
wasn't.
he does.
He was a little bit sluggish. He didn't. His brother was exactly the opposite. He was a runner. He was involved in football. He did everything. The other one was a little bit sedentary, you know. And we were
Right.
like, get up off your, do things, do things. But it does.
I did have a great aunt who had diabetes,
Okay,
and
so it may be a family connection.
much later in life, my father developed the type 2 diabetes. I'm the first one in our generation in
to
our
have what I
immediate
would
family.
call the young juvenile.
Exactly.
You weren't a juvenile, but you were pretty young.
Well, I'll be honest
Yeah.
with you. I'm 52 years old.
Doesn't
oh,
look
wow.
it, does
God, he doesn't look. He looks like a little kid.
Well, thank
Stunned
you.
me a while ago when he told me that.
And-
Oh my gosh!
but
So
is-
you were 41 when you became? Oh my
But
gosh!
Yes.
but diabetes is not
Wow.
automatically hereditary.
No, it's not.
No.
A lot of times it has to do with environmental factors, what you've been exposed to, depending upon what your lifestyle has been like. Some people who have lived a hard life, they develop that.
My
People who are
brother's daughter.
smokers.
My brother's daughter also got it at 16.
Oh.
And it's very hard for a 16-year-old to. It
I
changes
can
their
imagine that
lifestyle.
it would
Yeah.
be. My mother had it,
Yeah.
but I think my daughter right now is the only one of any of us that I don't have it. They
Skipped a generation.
My brother doesn't have it, skipped a generation, none of his kids have it.
But to bring people back to, my sister had problems with her feet and she, the numbness and everything, and I hope she's watching today because she still has issues with that. And sometimes, you know, if she's going to an airport, sometimes they have to use a wheelchair for her because walking that far really just, it's so
And
hard.
insurance covers this.
Certain insurances
Certain-
do.
certain-
I know Medicare covers that at 100%. I know Medicaid does. To get a better answer to that, basically just give our office a call at 770-345-2000, and we'll be able to give you an answer. We also have self-pay rates. You know what? This is a way to at least come in and try it. You have nothing to lose but 3.5 hours of your time,
Right.
and however long it takes you to drive there.
Right. That would be amazing to get that feeling back, and you're the guy that, you know, in 3 hours he felt it. That's amazing.
He came in faithfully, and he comes back. Now he's at once every 5 or 6 weeks as well, and it's just amazing because when you do this and you start, it's important also you look at a diet and lifestyle modifications. You know, if you're doing things that aren't healthy, you might want to rethink about what you eat, what your
Right.
amount of sugars that you intake, how you take your medicines, remembering to take your medicine
Everything goes
regularly.
back to that.
I mean, we can help this part and we can see these changes, but it has to be included as a whole
yeah.
lifestyle. And
Yeah.
it makes a difference. And the patients who do this, I mean, the rewards, just to see the looks on their faces is
Yes.
priceless to me. It's
Yeah.
such a blessing to see
Yeah, it's a
that.
blessing. It really
Yeah.
is.
When my son was dealing with this and having such a bad attitude about it, I took him to meet a friend of mine who was a nurse, and she was a diabetic. And she said, if you think that your sugar's getting a little bit high, take a 15-minute walk. And she said it's so simple to lower your sugar by just doing some simple things. And when we left there, he said, and he just had this negative attitude. So then I found a physician who was like 37 years old, who had been a diabetic all of his life. And I thought, this will be the key. He'll relate to him. No, it didn't work. There's some people who just can't get through the negativity of, why did this happen to me? You know,
Right.
so I think attitude has a lot to do with it if you do adjust the things that you need to.
I had a next door neighbor who was 13 when he was diagnosed with it. He was in the hospital 3 or 4 times in the following 2 years because he went into keto acidosis.
We had that problem often.
And blood sugars get over 400 or 500, who knows how.
882. The doctor said, we don't know if we can save him, but they did twice. So, yeah.
Well, you think about it, at 16 or 13, you're living a normal, healthy, regular life. Now, all of a sudden, you have to take shots, you have to have a blood glucose monitor, you got to
hated
stick your
those
fingers.
Sticking, oh my gosh, that was an anger point with him. Yeah.
Well, fortunately, nowadays, they have a Freestyle Libre monitor.
I saw that. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
It's a
Yeah.
little circular disc that goes on the back of your arm, and you can take the monitor. You can use your cell phone. There's an app that you can put on there, and you just go, whoop, oh, my blood sugars are 98.
I love it. Oh my
I'm
gosh,
good.
that is amazing.
But you know,
amazing.
And it doesn't
if
hurt.
you think
Yeah.
of a pianist or a guitar player who's always been sticking their fingers for so long, this just
Tough.
almost lets this.
It
gives
gives you a
him the
normal
ability
life.
to go back to
Yeah,
playing
yeah, that's
those
awesome.
musical
Well, look at the
instruments and doing
time.
those things.
It's time. Okay,
Oh,
give
wow.
us your phone number again, 770-345-2000.
Yes, ma'am.
Pick up the phone and call them. And if you have knee problems, if you are dealing with diabetes, and you know, that's something, a lot of our area, I know so many people who are dealing
Up here with that,
Yeah.
it seems to be.
Yeah. Pick up the phone and call, and you're open every day except Tuesday, and I've learned that lesson.
That's how we can get them up here with us.
Symptoms, if you've had symptoms of COVID and you tested negative, I swear, I think the greatest thing in the world was to know I had antibodies.
Yes,
I was so
I agree.
happy to know that. And I don't know how long the antibodies last.
I'd say 6 months.
6 months?
About 6
3 to
months.
6. Yes.
Yeah. Take care of yourself. Do things wisely. A little common sense goes a long way, doesn't it?
It sure
Yes.
does.
A little common sense. And they are located right behind Johnny's Pizza down in Canton, Georgia. You can smell the pizza, then you see their office. There you go.
Not before the diabetes treatment.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yay! Okay, guys, we're going to leave you now. I'll see you again soon where rivers, mountains, and good friends meet. Only on ETC.
Bye bye,
y'all.
everybody. Have a good
Bye.
day.
Bye.